everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels podcast. I would like you to please note that all the content, except for the thumbnail and the background art, but besides that, all the content is completely, authentically human-generated and includes absolutely no AI-generated components. We are the real deal, real people having real conversations. So sorry, it's my place. Today, let's talk about the brand new podcast hosted by Joan Widen and myself called The Unseen Nexus. Unravel the mysteries of existence, from spiritual awakenings to interstellar visitors and the conspiracies that bind them. We're on a journey to uncover the truth about humanity's place in the cosmos. Join us as your spiritual mashup has begun. So, my Unseen Nexus co-host, Joan Widen, is a clairvoyant medium, a Reiki Master teacher, body, mind, and soul coach, and fellow podcaster. And we've introduced this new series because we wondered, have you ever truly wondered what lies beyond the veil, or what to learn or want to learn more about our transdimensional neighbors? Join us as we unravel the mysteries of existence, from profound spiritual awakenings and ancient wisdom to interstellar visitors, cutting-edge discoveries, and the complex conspiracies that bind them all. We're on a journey to uncover the truth about humanity's extraordinary place in the cosmos. Get ready to challenge your perceptions and expand your understanding. Your spiritual mashup has begun. All of the links are featured below in the description. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And for those of you who may be in a position to help to support my channel memberships are available and they're very reasonably priced. And you can then take advantage of my perks as well as help to support my channel. So without further ado, I will bring on Joan. Hi, Joan. How you doing today?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me, Karen. Hello to Denise as well.
My pleasure. Yeah, Denise, I really appreciate you, Denise, in the live chat. She's makes it to every show. Well, not every show. Some of them she can't, but mostly she does. She moderates, and she's been very encouraging to have in the live chat for sure. And I'm sure we'll have more joining us. So so Joan, you and I put our heads together and we thought of a way that we could expand what we were doing and offer a new podcast that is a spiritual mashup. Now, do you want to explain to everybody what we mean by a spiritual mashup?
Okay, so the spiritual mashup, we thought it would be a great idea because Karen has her Angels and Aliens podcast, and I can't remember the other one at the moment, but
Quantum Guide Show.
And so she does what she does is kind of on the other side of what I do, even though they intertwine. And so then we decided, hey, wouldn't it be great to mash that up and bring it all together so that we can really hone in and understand. And so, like, I'm newish to the world of Aliens and Angels and the Quantum Guide Show. So, it will be an interesting mashup to see how spirit can mash and intertwine with how the Aliens and the Quantum Guide Show work together. So I'm really, really appreciative of this, collab, and can't wait for everyone to join us in that as well, because I think it's going to kind of bend our minds a little bit.
I would agree.
Karen, what do you
And
think?
well, and the name of the show, Unseen Nexus, is a nexus is the intersection point. So it could be spirituality and science, or it could be anything, any two or even more points that intersect. But what about the unseen connections? So I think this is where it's very good because Joan and I have different perspectives. We have different life experiences, we have different spiritual talents, and when we put them together, it's going to be like adjusting the telescope to look
Right.
at issues from two different perspectives, bringing them together at the nexus point, and then taking a look at them. So I think I could speak for you, Joan, and myself when I say we don't have to agree. We don't have to agree on anything, but we'll give our 2 cents worth on how we're seeing different phenomena, different activities, different spiritual or science discoveries. And we're going to kick it off on Tuesday, where we're going to take a look at AI and what that's doing to some people who are forgetting that this is highly experimental. Let's just put it that way.
Well, and it also, they forget about their soul because now you're just using your mind. Actually, you're even really not using your mind because you're inputting what you need into AI so it can spit out what you want it as well. So it's quite interesting that way.
Yes,
So,
it really is. And we've seen some profound changes in people we know since they have been consulting AI for their spiritual direction. So we won't get into too much today because we will save that for the show on Tuesday. But I thought that you would all find it very interesting. I'm hoping you will find it very interesting. And so this show will be live on my channel and also on Joan's channel. And then we'll both be um, uploading it to our different social media platforms. And then they will both go out on the Forbidden Knowledge Network on all audio podcasts. You'll have tons and tons of opportunities to catch up with us. Thank you, Denise, for putting Joan's YouTube channel up for us so that everybody can see it. Please do go over and subscribe to Joan's channel so that you don't miss any of her great content. And hopefully some of you can join us on Tuesday. So this is our maiden voyage, as it were, on Tuesday. So I'm really, really looking forward to it.
thank you again, Denise. Yes. It's really going to be a true mashup because there's going to be so many things that are can be opposing of each other that we can talk about, and it's okay because like Karen said, it doesn't, we can agree to disagree and it will be totally fine. There's going to be so many different things, and if there's something that you guys want us to actually look into or dive into it more, we can definitely look that up and discuss it, because the more engagement the better it is. You help us out, our channels out, and it helps us share it for other people as well. So yeah, if you guys have something you guys kind of want to dive into, want us to dive into, then we can, because it is the nexus, it is an intersecting point. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I discovered, well, quite a few years ago now, but when I started doing research via YouTube videos, and there used to be a lot more colorful information out than what you can find now. Like, for instance, the Sun Simulator, Nibiru, the Anunnaki, just so many ideas that were out floating around that were very, for me, very juicy topics. But what I used to do is rather than just believe everything one podcaster would be telling me, I would take their information and then go and cross-reference it in what seemed like completely um, different genres. Like, for instance, if I was studying about even the sun simulator, I'd then go off and watch videos to do with finance or politics. And it was surprising. Little snippets of the original would be there. And so I would line them up. And that's what I would also call a nexus. I would line them up of these seemingly unrelated genres and put them together and see if the Swiss cheese holes matched up or aligned. And then I felt that I had a better grasp on what was going on. And I also liked to watch the odd podcast by someone who, at the time, I may have considered a little bit out to lunch. But, I hate to say that because I'm sure people consider some of my content pretty much out to lunch, and that's okay. But because it is amazing. There's a saying that says, out of the mouths of babes. Sometimes it is from the uneducated and those who are awkward, and they're just getting this spiritual input. They don't have a lot of ego attached to it, and they're coming out with this information. And I think it's good to weigh it all, take a look at it, spin it around, and then, of course, we all make our own decisions.
It's really because they have no filter, right? They don't have the belief systems that have people, want it, like where our belief systems where we prevent ourselves from saying things just because we have that extra empathy that the person with no filter doesn't have. And so they just blurt it out, and that's not a problem for them because there's no shame attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like there's so many things where Karen, people think I'm strange too, so it's not it's not a big deal. When people are like, yeah, that's just Joan, I'm like, yeah, I embody weird. I embrace my weirdness. And people are like, huh. And they look at me weird, and I'm like, nope, I embrace it. I am your embodiment of weird. And some people they laugh and they're like, I'm glad you wow, I've never met anyone that can truly embrace that fact. And I'm like, nope, I bring the weirdness and it is what it is. So
yep. Me too. I embrace it. And people who are uncomfortable around me tend to be people who are not very secure. They don't have an analysis. They've just been believing what they see on the news or at church or whatever. And no disrespect to churchgoers. I used to be a churchgoer myself, but I got to the point where I found that each church believed they were the only ones that were right. And to me, it was so crazy making that you could go to a church across the street and do things you couldn't do at the one you were presently in. And it just was crazy making to me. So I started asking Spirit to give me a paradigm that's so large that all the religions could fit inside. Such a large paradigm of looking at things. And so that was sort of my quest, not to get too much on to go down the rabbit hole, but I'm just saying that's how I started expanding my consciousness. I had my perceptions before that, but I didn't really have it developed into analysis. What about you, Joan?
Yeah, I was, I grew up strictly Catholic, and honestly, it would be mind-blowing to me because people would say that's too loud of an outfit for you to wear to church. And I'm like,
what?
Interesting. And I'm like, you do realize that God loves you no matter what, and he would like you to be happy and smile. And if this makes me smile, then it should be welcomed. There is no toning it down. I'm like, if you are judging me, I'm like, then you're committing the sin. I said, should we throw stones now? Are you ready to throw stones? And then they all would just back away because they're just like, holy shit, how does this little girl know her stories? So it's
Absolutely.
just like, well, then, if you're going to throw stones, what is it? And then they just left me alone because it just was one of those things. Because I was just like, don't say one is better than the other. They're all intersecting. Everyone, God is one God, whether it's Allah, where it's Buddha, it's whomever you want to, right? It is. He is all encompassing. He is the one, whether like everyone around the world has different names for him or her, whichever you would like, right? But really, truly, he is the infinite being, but at the same time, he is everything and nothing at the same time, right? Because he has no ego, so he can't be a something.
Yeah. Well, I want to just mention Denise says religion recruits you, spirituality finds you.
That's correct.
Isn't that true? Yeah, I would agree with you, Joan. I mean, I was a Jehovah Witness for 17 years of my adult life, raised my kids as Jehovah Witnesses, everything. And I kept getting smacked with these inconsistencies and um I just kept getting smacked with all these things that were clear messages that I was not in the right place. But I kept doubting myself and doubting, who am I to think that I would be able to figure that out? Who am I to be able to approach God? Oh my God, like I
Yes.
don't, I felt I had to go through religion. But finally, all the nonsense just added up and I just went, no, I can't do this anymore. It didn't matter what I did. It felt to me like when I was doing my best, someone would come along, and this is just a metaphor, but it's like someone in the church would tell me, oh, you need to be doing the Highland Fling. You're doing the wrong dance. You start doing the Highland Fling, and somebody else comes along and says, what are you doing? You're supposed to be waltzing. And so I'd start waltzing, and somebody else would come along and say, what are you doing? You're supposed to be doing the tango. And I found it really crazy making. So, people who thought they were really spiritual would, bring their kids over to play with my kids, and they'd go through my video library and say, oh, you got to get rid of this. You got to get rid of this. You got to get rid of that. You can't have this. You can't have that. Like it was just insane. Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible. And finally, I even had at one point, we lived in a small town. There was only one elder and his wife, and they took turns following me around in their car to see if I was sinning. And I just went, this is insane. This is insane. I can't do this anymore. And I quit. And I walked out and I never went back. But I got to tell you, Joan, it took me 2 or 3 years to thaw out from 17 years of programming. And then the other thing is it's a shunning religion. So I didn't have any friends outside of my religion because we weren't allowed to. We were only allowed to associate with our own kind. So then they turn their back on you as though you're dead and you're thrown out into the world and you just don't know how to cope with it. So it took me a while, but I found my bearings and I'm much happier now than I ever was before. So um, um,
What I will say though, Karen, is
yeah,
um, just in case anyone that's listening that's highly religious, it just wasn't for Karen. It wasn't doesn't mean it's not for you.
yeah,
Right.
I would.
And my sister is also a Jehovah Witness, and you know what? It really works out for her. It gives
Yeah.
her a sense of community, and it gives her that sense,
Mm-hmm.
especially after her husband passed away, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, the good thing is, since she was born and raised Catholic, she did not shun us, her family.
Mhm.
So we were still very much in there, and it's all good. But again, like I said, it's up to individuals. For me, it's not my
Mhm.
cup of tea
Mhm.
technically necessarily, but I do feel like, there are some things that I would definitely leave behind. And there are some things that are really great. But in my experiences from other people that say they were highly, highly religious, were that they would do things and it would be, well, it's good for me, but not for thee. And
Mhm.
they
Mhm.
would sin for 6 days of the week. And then come Sunday, they would ask for absolution.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then they were good. And then they were good to go sin again for the next 6 days. Like it just mind boggling to me
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
were so devoted to God, but yet during their work week, all holds like no holds bar. Everything was game on. And it didn't
Mhm.
matter if it squashed someone or did was hugely sinning, because it didn't matter, because come Sunday they would find absolution.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And so one of the things in my own spiritual evolution was I had to understand that I am an honest hypocrite. And people say, well, that's an oxymoron. No, it's not. I am a hypocrite because anytime I say anything come out of my mouth with words, I can think of 2 or 3 different circumstances where that may not necessarily be true. Everything is very context sensitive, and and that needs to be taken into consideration, and not only to see that hypocrisy within myself, but to allow other people to have the grace to, although they said this in that context, it might be different in a different context as well. So basically it was, I added a flexibility to the way I viewed myself and other people. And that seemed to really help me to be more open to having, oh, I guess, more peaceful relations with people, and to let them, it doesn't hurt me in any way if they believe differently. How could that hurt me? It just doesn't. I don't know. What's your thought, Joan?
Well, you're absolutely right. And in the context of someone doing something, I might do something that I may not normally do, but that doesn't mean that it's going to sound hypocritical. And that's pretty much what you're saying, right?
Mhm.
Am I perfect? I absolutely am not. There are times where I can lose my shit. I mean, really lose it. And then there's times where there's not. And then there's times where other people can lose their crap at you, and you kind of go, okay, well, there's certain reasons why. What is the reason? But does that reason outweigh why they did that to you? Right?
Mhm.
So those come from our boundaries, though, right? So if we
Mhm.
continue to allow them to treat us this way, because I'm going to tell you, there's always going to be a shitty situation in people's lives. And so if everything is an issue for them to have to be able to or want to treat you that way, well, then that's not a thing for you. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
But that's really, and what you were saying about, why should it bother me? Sometimes it bothers us because it's our junk that, we stored in our heart and that comes out, and then all we think about is that. But really what that just means is spirit wants us to let that go,
Yep.
so we can be open, and we can be open for more things. And again, I like to say, so new doors can open, and the old doors that no longer served us can shut if we let
Mhm.
that go, right? Because really, you're right. They're no longer thinking about it. Why should we, and why should we care, right?
Mhm. 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 So
So
true. I also see a huge intersection always between spirituality, science, psychology, sociology. I see it in all of those things. And I'll give you an example. I forget how many years ago, maybe about 500 years ago, there was a scholar by the name of Descartes,
Yeah.
Descarte. And he came up with a brilliant idea that everything that you can physically see and touch, that belongs to the realm of science. And everything you can't see or touch, that belongs to the realm of the church or religion. And they separated it, but it wasn't always so. It used to be very intertwined, and now we're coming around where we're starting to see it as being sorry, intertwined again, that you can't separate it. So for instance, what we're learning about quantum physics is clearly explaining our great potential as spiritual beings, our psychology, where we may think that something is a certain way, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's only that way under, again, that tiny little context. And so that's why I felt that a nexus point was really important and would be a great place for Joan and I to be able to talk about anything and look at it from a bunch of different perspectives, and always respecting that this is just how we're seeing it in the moment for analysis. This is not telling people what's true and what's not true. We're not trying to start a new belief system or religion or anything like that. We just want an avenue where we can talk about stuff, openly and without, concern. That's sort of how I see
Well,
it.
and it's really just to get things out in the open and take that deep dive. Maybe
Mhm.
one of the topics, Karen, I just thought of, we could discuss maybe why people go deep dive and want to do a cult, join a cult unknowingly, right?
Mhm.
So, because those are all different things, and that's what I've read and what I've researched also is we've been here for how long, right? How many millions of years? But the Earth is how old? And if we really think about it, we are these beings living on this earth, and this earth is flying around the sun, and it's got a moon attached to it that orbits us. And yet we still can live our day to day and not get really affected by how fast or how it orbits around the earth, right? We are still
Mhm.
able to live our life. And really, how long did it take us to get to where we are? And the miracle of it was also is our parents had to meet, and if our parents didn't meet, we wouldn't exist. And same with their parents, if their parents didn't meet. So it's all intersecting as everything had to align just perfectly for us to be here today. So, in a sense, if you think about it, nothing is imperfect because it is perfect the way it is. And it's only
Mhm.
our judgments and our assumptions and shames that tell us that we aren't enough or it isn't perfect.
Mhm. Mhm. Really good thought. Good thought. Um, Yeah, I mean, I tend to be fairly hard on myself, which is not so good because I sometimes forget that I don't have to be perfect. And then the whole word perfect, what does that even mean? Joan, your idea of what's perfect, my idea of what's perfect, Denise's
Different.
idea about what's perfect could all be very, very different. And so, again, I think it gets back to learning about self love. And that is a huge chore in this world that's set up to make us feel like we're not quite good enough. I
Well,
just want to say a
sorry.
quick hi to Play Love Remember. Hello, Play Love Remember. Nice
Hello.
to see you.
So,
Go ahead,
really,
Joan.
perfect is just our perception of what perfection really is. So everyone has their own view of what perfect is. Your view of perfect may not even come close to mine, and mine may not even come close to yours, right? So there's all these different things, and people are like, well, no, that's not perfect. Well, who are you to judge what perfect is? It's perfect in my eye, right? Like, it really doesn't.
Just like people want to label things as crazy. Quickest way to discredit someone is to say, oh, they're crazy or they're insane. But from what perspective? It's like we're all facing a fence that has holes at different levels, and we're looking through a different hole. We're seeing a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
And who's to say that somebody else's perspective is wrong? And so I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this new podcast. Now, before I get back into the live chat, I just want to quickly play a quick ad for my book, and then we'll come right back and we'll pick up where we left off. Learn the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, meet the new neighbours, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys Picture Book. I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as Greys is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common, so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. And we're back. So Play, Love, Remember says it's all about perspective. Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Rodney Letman. Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. And thank you very much, Denise. She says Karen's books are wonderful. I highly recommend them. Thank you, Denise. I really, really appreciate that too. So yeah, it's all about perspective. And, some things may not sit well with me. I may not agree with them. There are people who, well, we'll get into it on Tuesday, who have consulted with AI, and AI has convinced them that there's some kind of chosen leader for humanity. And I don't know why my red flag goes up anytime people overly flatter me. I wish I had $1 for every message I get on Messenger going, "Hey, baby, I love your smile. You are such a cutie. Let's get to know each other." And I kind of go, no. And, flattery, but AI and its flattery, I don't know, it seems to be a trap that a lot of people are getting sucked into. And I didn't mean anything against what you said, Rodney. That was very kind of you. Rodney said that, not sure who he's referring to, but hello, your smile brightens the dark. And thank you. It was not meant to be in reference to your comment. But I think the world is changing very, very quickly. And I just encourage everybody to keep an open mind. Listen to other people, even if it doesn't resonate. Listen to the message. What is it they're actually saying or getting to? Not necessarily the conclusion I'm jumping to. And that's another challenge.
Well, and also if you happen to stumble on it, there's a reason why you stumbled on it. It's never just a coincidence. Have a look, take a listen. Even if you have to listen to it while you're doing other things because you're finding it's not really for you, but you never know, there might be one portion of it that, that really can resonate with you.
Rodney says, I am petrified of AI. Well, I think we have good reason to, especially at this point where AI doesn't know what it's doing. We'll get into more about that on Tuesday, but yeah, it's early in its whole training scenario. And the other thing too is there's too many things we have to give our power up to. I don't want to give my power over to something else. I wanted to mention another thing that in my spiritual evolution is when I first heard this, I had trouble accepting it. And that is, we often don't like in someone else what we actually fear is within us. And I'll just give you an example. So I'm a very socially awkward person. I talk too loud. I sometimes talk too much. You could find fault with lots of what I do socially. And
I'm
one
not
day I
with
was, huh?
I said I am
What?
not with you.
Are you? And one day I was at the gym and I was on the bicycle exercise, whatever, and a woman came in and she was loud and she talked too much and she had many of the qualities that I think are that I have that aren't very good. And immediately I didn't like her. I just didn't like her at all. And I thought about it. I thought, Karen, why is it that you don't like her? Let's delve into this. And then I realized it was because she was not ashamed of the way she was. I was always trying to hide what I considered my imperfections, lack of ladylike behavior, as I was brainwashed to believe, right? And so here I was actually casting her away because she was reminding me of what I didn't like about myself. And in doing that analysis, it taught me a couple of things. One was I had no reason not to like her. She could be any way she wants. And second of all, I don't have to feel that way about myself anymore. So I don't know. Have you ever had anything like that happen for you, Joan?
Oh yeah, I had the same thing. I had teachers say, "Hey, you're just way too loud and so too much. Can you squish it down, calm down just a little bit?" And so I was that was the first thing I was going to tell you was that was a belief system that someone told you, and then we both probably put a shame on it. You know what I mean? Like if you're too loud, or
Absolutely.
if you're too whatever, it's a bad thing. And that's one of the great things about today is people don't care. People are more open to everything. They want you to be more you. They want you to be authentically you, right? And it's really just the lens, right? Like you said, if we can just open it up, just like in a camera, the more you open the shutter, the more things you actually get to see. Versus if it's really tight and small, you only get a portion of the picture, right? So part of everything and what I feel we both are here today for is to open the mind so that everyone can have a bigger picture, a broader picture of what life can actually be and what it is.
Absolutely. And And also, a lot of the things that I wonder about or that you wonder about, Joan, our audience is also wondering the same thing. A lot of us are wondering, all kinds of things today. And so I think that by discussing things really openly and honestly and not being afraid of embarrassment or shame or any of that stuff, I think that it will give other people permission to expand their minds as well. And once a mind is expanded, it never shrinks back. It never
Right.
goes back to its puny old way of looking at things. Joan, have you ever had the situation where you look back and you go, wow, I used to believe this, this, and this. Wow, have I changed a lot? There's no way I even am close to that anymore. Have you had that experience?
Well, it's exactly what you just said, really, because I kept getting squashed and you're nobody. Why do people like you? Why? And I just kind of went, I don't really care what other people, exactly what Rodney said there. Don't be concerned of the opinions of strangers. Like, it just, before things would really bother me, and now they just don't. And if someone doesn't like me, it's okay. And even if someone were to say, I don't like, for example, in that church situation where I was wearing a flower blouse, which I was very proud of, right? I was wearing it, and someone's like, that's too loud to wear to church. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not here for your viewing pleasure. I'm here for my viewing
Exactly.
pleasure, right?
Exactly. I do that at funerals. When my kids were young, I used to, well, first of all, I always dressed in loud colors. I just like
Yeah,
them. They make me feel good. But I always would take my kids and people would say, "Oh, it's not appropriate to bring your children to funerals." And I thought it's
why?
absolutely appropriate, first of all, because it cheers everybody up. When you've got children around, it cheers everybody up. And second of all, I don't know who made those rules. Oh,
Well,
look, we've got Kristen with us. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you.
I also don't. Why is it that it's not appropriate for children to be there? Children are not to be completely sheltered of all these
Mhm,
things. Like,
mhm,
it's a natural thing of life. It's gonna happen. So if they've never been exposed to any of it before, it's gonna be heartbreaking for them when they're older because they have never really been exposed to that. It's
mhm,
it's one of those things where, again, they need to say goodbye as well if they knew that person. And there's
mhm,
absolutely nothing wrong with that,
mhm.
right?
I agree, and if they're never exposed to it, if I was never exposed to a funeral and then as an adult I went to one, I would think, "Oh my God, dying's a horrible thing. Everybody's dressed in black, people are crying." I think we're getting a little bit away from the traditional funerals nowadays anyway. We're having more celebration of life for people now, but it would freak me right out if I had no exposure to that and then suddenly, and then we're all supposed to act the same way. I've always had trouble with that. Whatever is supposed to be socially appropriate, I not only break the rules, I don't even know I'm breaking the rules. And it isn't until someone later comes to me and corrects me, which I think that's bullshit too,
Yeah,
pardon me, but I do, right? That I even am aware of it. And so people will see my behaviors and they'll judge me as being this way, a show off or a braggart, or God knows what label they want to put on me. And I'm
right.
oblivious to it. I don't even know. So how could I be doing it on purpose? And it really shows what other people are thinking, what their fears and what their hangups are too. So I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get too
It,
critical
it,
of
it's
people, but
it's
I'm just saying.
interesting, but I'm going to tell you from my perspective, even if I wasn't, um, what's it called, exposed to funerals, I have been, and I think that's also part of the mediumship life. Is you're
Mhm.
exposed to death really early. Like, there's always someone dying around you. And but I'm going to tell you, a funeral for me was always much different. Even though, like, I in the Philippines, for example, don't want anyone to wear black. They want you to wear white. And the only black that they want you to wear is like a black pin, rectangular pin to put on your shirt. And so for me, again, being a medium and being able to see past loved ones made it a little bit different for me. But I always, if I go to a funeral here, I think there was one where I did wear black, but typically I wear not a neon color, but like a brighter color, because it's a celebration. It's a celebration that they actually get to go home, right? And they can be one with their spirit, right? Because the one thing that we think here on this earth is we are this body, but we really aren't. We are in control of this body, and this body has human experiences, and our soul gets to witness it. But our soul is not this. This is not our shell. This is not who we really are, right? We've forgotten who we truly are, solely speaking.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Now, I was going to tell the audience that I do have some mediumship, but it generally happens to me while I'm asleep. And some of my relatives that pass away come to see me for some reason before they go off, and some don't. But your mediumship, you are able to see beings while you're fully awake. Do you want to explain to everybody, Joan, what that means for you to be a clairvoyant medium? How does that happen for you? And I just thought people would find it interesting because our experiences are a little different that way.
So they also do come to me in my sleep. So sometimes I will find out that they passed away before anyone knows, and it's only because they've come to me in my dream time. Sometimes they actually just come to me, like physically I can see them, but it's almost like they let me see a picture, right? Like it's like a movie, and then they start talking, and it's like the movie is talking to me directly.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? And so that's how they are. And sometimes when they come up, I can feel the energy, and I'm like, okay, well, someone's here. And then I'll kind of focus somewhere else. But if they're really strong and they really, really need my attention or want my attention, I can be in the middle of anything. I could be driving, and all of a sudden, all I see is what they want me to see. And that can be kind of scary, because I was trying to get to someone because they wanted a spiritual healer to pass on their loved one, right? And so she was dying, and I was racing to get to her because they said she might die within the hour, right? So I was trying to get there as soon as I could. But all of a sudden she overcame everything, and I basically didn't know what I was doing. And it's a good thing that my vehicle had anti-collision, because it actually braked. And then as soon as that happened, it kind of snapped me out. And I'm like, whoa, okay, you know what? You need to wait until I'm with you. Like, you don't have to race. You don't have to talk 5 miles an hour, because you can still talk to me once your body's dead. And clearly you're already pretty much on the other side, because you are talking to me right here, right now. And I'm like, you're going to kill me before I get to see you. And that won't be good for your loved ones. And then they backed off. Do you know what I mean? But literally, if they want to overtake what I see, they can, because that's how strong they want their message to come across, right? And then there are some that are super shy. And partly, I believe it's because when they were here in this life, they didn't really believe in this and what I did and what I do, right? And so they're doing that on purpose And people are like, what? And I'm like, for example, I have one person, he came to me and you could clearly see he was kind of distraught. And I said, all I get is him laughing so hard. And he said, it's come to this, has it? Right? He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm going to tell you, he's laughing at you coming to me to want to talk to him, because he's saying this is the last thing that he ever freaking imagined that you would actually do. And that you are probably obviously desperate enough for him to talk to you. And he was in shock, because he's like, yeah, that's fair.
Well, that's
because that's how
that's
his brother would be, right?
mhm.
So
Good.
that's kind of
Sorry,
thing.
go ahead.
No, I
Well,
was wrapping it up. Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I've had friends or relatives or whatever come and see me on their way out in my dreams, and then they're in full color. And it all depends on how they want to look, you know. So my cousin Betty, when she passed over, she was an old woman and she looked like an old woman, but she was wearing a beautiful white lace dress, and she didn't say anything. She just hugged me and hugged me. And I knew she had passed, and there was no hard feelings between us. And then a couple days later, I started seeing on Facebook relatives talking about that Betty had passed. But another way that I see is similar to you, where I would call it an overlay. So it's like your mind's eye or your imagination produces visuals that you're seeing through your eyes that are stronger than what your eyes are seeing
Correct.
in front of you. So I've had that happen a few times. But another thing that's happened, tell me if this has happened for you, Joan, and it doesn't happen as often as it does for you, or as easily as it does for you. But I can get a sensation that someone I know is near me, and this could be a living person or a deceased person. And if I close my eyes, I see orbs. I see
Oh,
orbs. They're represented by orbs. And I'm wondering if you've ever had that happen. So the last time it happened for me, I was thinking of my daughter and her two children. When I closed my eyes, I saw a really large, just a white light orb, and two smaller ones that were sort of moving around the main one. And so I went, isn't that interesting? Because I'm not actually seeing them in physical form. So I'm wondering if you've ever had that, or how do they usually appear to you?
you're correct. I like, they could be living, and I like to call it like the psychic phone.
Mm-hmm,
So they could be thinking about me, and I know that they're around. And it,
mm-hmm,
depending on the situation, I will just pick up the phone and call them. And
mm-hmm,
most off, like I'm gonna say 9.5 times out of 10, they go, "That's weird." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they're like, "I was just thinking about you." And then the phone rings and it is you. And I'm like, "That's because I felt it, and
mm-hmm,
I just
mm-hmm,
decided to call you
mm-hmm,
instead of letting it be." So when I close my eyes, and spirits are around me, I just get. So I don't know if you've ever experienced fainting where it goes black and then you can, so right, it kind of goes black and then you can slowly see and then it goes black, right? So instead of it going black, I get different colors. So I get violet, I get indigo, I get yellow, I get green. I get all the chakras, and they all just pulsate in and out and in and out. And sometimes it's not necessarily someone that's passed on, but it can be my spirit guides. So then I ask for some healing if I am needing healing, if I have a headache, for example, and then they just go work on it and do it that way. But really, if there is a loved one that comes to me, their name comes to me, and I go, okay. And then if they really want my attention, then I start seeing their picture and their face, and it just won't leave. Do you know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? And then I can ask, well, what is it that you want? And then sometimes because I'm me and I judge me, was, was that really them? And then I'll see, for example, my uncle, when he passed, our favorite thing was my most memorable thing with him was a bunny, was, a hare, a wild one, right? So whenever I think he's around me and I'm not quite sure, guess what steps in front of me or walks around me are all these wild hares.
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, there you go.
That's very powerful symbolism. Now, we're coming close to the end of the show, but Joan, I'd like you to spend a few minutes telling people about what your offerings are, because I know you're very multi-talented. You do healing, you do mediumship. Tell us a bit about what you offer and, of course, where people can find you.
Okay. So where people can find me is on my website, www.joanwiden.com. So just like my name there, you can find me on YouTube at Clairvoyant Medium Joan Widen. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Now, Facebook is, I can't remember what it is, but I'm going to tell you, a lot of the times for social media lately, I have not been on there very much just because it's been busy season for me with children. So I have been, and sometimes I'm known to take a break from social media because social media can be much, because there's a lot of energy flying that way, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes there's a lot of energy that's kind of like pulling on me. So then I like to just cut and leave that for a little bit. But mainly, honestly, you could reach me on my website. What I offer are readings. So I could do card readings, oracle card, tarot card readings. I do mediumship readings as well. These don't have to be done in person, they can be done online. Um, and I do energy healing. Energy healing can consist of maybe a little reading at the same time, because whatever comes while you're getting your energy healing, I will just speak it unless you've specifically told me I don't want messages from spirit, right? So
Mhm.
it's very much, if there's a message for you, if you're not open to it, that's okay. It might get delivered in a different way, meaning, hey, you need to work on certain things. This is what I'm getting. This is what I'm sensing, different things like that. But really, and if you want crystal healing, there's that. I also do healing grids as well. So, yes, but that is what I do. But really, you can find me on my website, www.joanwiden.com.
And of course, all the links will be below.
Yes.
And before
Oh,
we
one more thing.
yes, please.
Sorry. And of course, I'm going to be co host with Karen on the Unseen Nexus podcast. And I am coming up with my own, again, Journey with Joan. Unfortunately, the company I was with is no longer in existence. So I am coming up with my own, with another version of Journey with Joan that will be solely tied to me as well.
Wonderful. And
Thank you,
so
Karen.
when you subscribe to Joan's YouTube channel, be sure to click the little bell icon so you'll be notified when her Journey with Joan podcast resumes, and also to be reminded about the Unseen Nexus podcast. And let's see, what does Rodney says? He says, found you on YouTube. Look forward
Thank
to
you.
the visit. Very good. So for those of you who are able, come join us at noon Pacific, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, or 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday on either my channel or Joan's channel, and participate in the live chat. And we're going to get into a very interesting and in-depth conversation about AI and how that is affecting people we know, and how to avoid the pitfalls, I guess, and
Yeah,
remain
just
true to yourself.
AI and spirituality, it's a crazy thing.
It really is. And I think people need to take a sober look at what AI actually is and what you can do without it, which is way bigger and way better and way more exciting. So
Exactly.
yeah, hope you'll all come in and join us on Tuesday. And of course, I'll be back on Wednesday with a Quantum Guide show. And I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to talk about everything I know about, is Jesus God? And I think my analysis might surprise you. Might not, but it might. And it's not against or for or anything like that. It's just my observation. So I'm going out on a limb. I don't know, some people might not like what I have to say, but it's something I've been thinking about. And it's funny how spirit kind of sometimes directs me that I need to do a show on something, and I don't even 100% know what I'm going to say. And then spirit lets me know when the time is right. So there's that.
Well, it
So,
just comes to you, right?
yeah, it just comes to me. And then for the Aliens and Angels podcast on the 10th, I will be delving into ET versus AI. And that boils down to love versus logic. On the 17th, I've got Philip Kinsella. He's got a brand new book. I know you want to hear all about that. On the 24th, I'm having Sue Walker again. She's the spokesperson for the Pa'ai Gray. They don't like being called aliens, so I'll just say extraterrestrial races. And then on the 31st, we're going to have Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot, Jim and his son Matt on. Very excited, and
Sounds
we're going to
good.
delve into all things all things Bigfoot. So that's what we have coming. So I'll let you all go. I wish you a wonderful week. Thank you, Joan, so much for coming on today, and we'll see everybody Tuesday for Unseen Nexus. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Everything didn't come on. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbours, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholt.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will also find the Quantum Guide Show on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.